Do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday, but you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing.
Are people chomping at the bit?
Well, it's David Reynosa. Have you seen his face? It's just like a Greek statue.
It's really cute.
What? I meant
He didn't hit.
Well, hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller, not John Bunn. With me is John Bunn. I'm going to let you say hi for a second, so tell everyone hi.
Hi. Dude, I have to throw a disclaimer out. This coffee right here, I'm only halfway through it. It's a new coffee shop here in Tulsa. I'm pretty sure there's straight gasoline in it. So if I'm sweating or if I'm jittery, I just wanted to get ready for David. So here it is. Okay. I'm going to be crazy, but back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, so today we are super excited. We are doing our monthly live Q&A in our Facebook group. Yeah. We have a Facebook group, so if you're not a part of that, you should join it. And we are excited to have our friend, Mr. David Reynosa of Forestry Film, join us for the second. No, this is the third time that he's been on our podcast.
Second. Hey, still waiting for the third invite. One. It's just two so far.
You were on the Venture one.
He was on three.
That's true.
Okay. Anyways, David, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. I'm pumped to be here. This is so cool. The last two we did, every time we went off, it's like Harmony. That was just the coolest thing ever. With my people, wedding videographers. This is awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. So what we wanted to do today with our live Q&A is just let David kind of share his knowledge, share some of the stuff, and John and I will pipe in with, I'm sure, will be very helpful and not sarcastic answers at all, right?
No, never.
Oh man,
ever.
You guys are gonna give me a hard time. Is that really the best way to do that, David? Are you sure?
So maybe we will have to see. So in our Facebook group yesterday, we posted a picture and we said, hey, David is coming on from Forestry Films and you can ask him any question. We want to kind of focus it on some branding stuff, some posing stuff, some editing kind of things. And so we asked him, we got a ton of responses from people that just have all these questions for you, David. So, John, awesome. I'm going to let you pick the first question and go ahead and ask away.
Yeah. Well, I'm super pumped about everybody that's dropped questions. I will say, if you're watching live in our Facebook group, not listening on the podcast, drop some questions for David here. I mean, he is a wealth of knowledge for reals. I'm going to jump into the questions. The first one I have is from Jordan Michael Rushing. Hey, Jordan, what's up? Jordan says, getting more into destination weddings, do you have strategies, where to post, basically best way to market in other more favorable markets? Any advice for them, David?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I feel like when we were first starting out, I really wanted to do more destination work, and I felt like I was just sitting in my room every single day, refreshing my inbox, hoping that an Iceland inquiry would come in, or a New Zealand inquiry, or a Big Sur inquiry, and I got so frustrated. I was like, why can't they just see through my bad branding and see that I'm this incredible videographer and that I'd be the perfect fit to escort them across the cliffs of Iceland? Why can't they not see that? And I remember being really frustrated, and just 2 or 3 years, I was like, why am I not getting these weddings? And what I realized is as a filmmaker, really you're a business owner first, and you have to figure out branding. I think branding is the biggest thing that goes into getting those destination weddings. You have to create the product before the customers are willing to pay for it. And I think so many filmmakers do it the opposite way. They're like, hey, I have the product in my mind. I can't actually show you what it would look like. And I'm hoping that you can reach into the cavern of my mind castle and know that I'm the right fit for you. So I found this out the hard way. Like we finally,
Cavern of my mind.
we finally got, I think 3 or 4 years into our business, we got one destination elopement, and I was super, super pumped about it, and we knocked it out of the park. But it wasn't until we got that one elopement that's when we started getting all the rest. We had to do at least one extremely well. And what we did is we keyworded it really well on YouTube. So we were one of the very first videographers to do a Big Sur or a Muir Woods elopement on YouTube. So for a while there, whenever you searched elopement or Muir Woods or anywhere up the coast, our video popped up, and we got so many inquiries from that. And then we used that momentum to get more and more inquiries, and we try to take as many of them as possible and really rank well for those keywords on YouTube. So what I would suggest is, if you really want to get into that market, instead of waiting for those inquiries to come to you, figure out how can I create content for free right now or for really inexpensive and crank it out really fast at really high quality. And kind of what I would recommend is do a couple, because it could be hard to just get a amazing elopement right off the bat. You kind of have to prove to people even before that you can do that type of adventurous work. So what I suggest is finding couples who you know are kind of that target market that you're looking for, that target bride, and taking them out to some of the most scenic locations in your area that kind of match the other scenic locations that you want to go around the world. Like for me, right down the street, we have this awesome mountain range that I can make look not identical to Big Sur or to Iceland, but I can get similar shots to where a bride who's getting married in those places can see that short little reel. And I'm talking about just take a couple out for a couple hours and produce a couple little Instagram trailers and start really pushing those on Instagram. And then what I would do after you've done that for about 3 or so months, then run some sort of elopement giveaway where someone getting eloped in those cool locations could see all the Instagram previews and trailers and be like, man, I know I haven't seen something in Iceland that he's done, but all of these have a very similar vibe. And if it's a giveaway, I'm sure they'd be down to get you. And then once you have that first one, then you just market that thing like crazy, and it really starts to snowball from there.
Yeah, that's a great idea. One thing, like if you're going on a family, here's another thing that can help you. If you're going on a family vacation, or you and your partner, business partner, you know, whoever is going somewhere, like use our Facebook group, use other videography groups, use photography groups or whatever, and maybe find a couple and go do like a little styled shoot. You know, for another, like my wife and I, when we went to Seattle for a wedding, you know, a month ago, we found Becca Kneeblock, who was out there, and we did a shoot together at this waterfall that was like, you know, the adventure kind of style that we really wanted to go for. And, you know, so now we have that as, you know, something in our back pocket. So very similar to what you're saying. But if you're going anywhere and you know it's going to be pretty, find a couple to do a shoot, and then just, you know, then you have that with you. So that's
and one thing I would add, that's actually super, super great advice, because a lot of people are like, hey, you know, in my friend group, I don't have a lot of people that I would take out, but I mean, use the Facebook group. That's awesome. And other thing I'd recommend is, if you're not taking personal photography of yourself, start doing that more. Like just start doing adventurous things yourself and start capturing you doing them, because you'll start to attract those people who just like that type of photography and that type of vibe. And they'll probably be dating someone, and they'll probably get engaged eventually. And you start, you know, just amassing those type of people who would want to do those epic elopements and destination weddings.
I think the hardest thing is usually just getting the boulder moving up the mountain.
Yeah.
But like once you get it going, and if you're just kind of filtering through and saying, okay, I want to do these things. So if I'm in this location, I'm going to be thinking, how can I get footage here? How can I get photos here? And as you do more, it makes it, you have more to show. You can start really showing more of what you want to shoot. And so the flywheel starts turning. But getting those first few, you really have to kind of be creative a lot of times. Like the Italy wedding I'm about to go to, it's like I was creative in getting that booking, but I just met with another couple today who's also getting married in Italy. And it's like they know that I'm going to this one in Italy. And so I was able to kind of swoop that in there and kind of start building that. And it's like, oh, okay, now I'm an Italy videographer. It's like that kind or awesome. Italian or whatever. So I think just don't be discouraged that it just takes a lot to get the momentum going. And then once it starts going, don't stop pushing that boulder. It's going to crush you.
That's huge.
And one thing that John and I have said before is it literally only takes one. It only takes just that one for you to go somewhere, and then it snowballs into something else, So you never know what that one video is that you're going to do that could, blow up and become something big. But that's a huge thing as well. Don't limit, think, I've only done one. Well, that one is one more than someone else has done. And if the right one person sees that one video,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on into, this is a question that was actually in our Facebook chat, the group from our live here, and it's Alexis Wajcio. Alexis, I don't know. I met you. You're awesome, but I don't know how to say your name. And she asks, do you think being a solo shooter has a hard limit on what you can charge? At what point does she need to build a second shooter into the package? I feel like I'm at a limit with what I'm able to charge because she's a solo shooter.
So I don't think you have a limit in terms of what you could charge, but you might have a limit in terms of what your body can take, just because it's really hard. But I know Jay Worsley and Seth Dunlap, they both do solo shooting, and they charge a lot. They charge $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for weddings, and they kill it. And one thing that obviously I'm not a solo shooter, so I can't talk an insane amount about it, but one good nugget that they have talked about at Venture and they've told me is when they shoot solo, their main thing, I think when you shoot solo, you can't try to capture everything. You have to figure out what are the moments that are going to make the highest impact, because I think so many solo shooters look at companies that have 2, 3, I don't know if you guys have heard of Bob Nicholas, but he has like 10 shooters at his wedding, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But they look at that work and they try to copy it as a solo shooter, and most of the time what's going to happen is you're going to have a heart attack and you're going to burn out. It's just impossible. But if you really choose you're going to have to say no to things, and actually really important things. Like you might have to decide, you know what, I'm not going to get family portraits. Which to a team of 2 would be like, how would you not get family portraits? Like you have to, but you're like, no, I know that if I really want to increase my value and charge more, I know that really spending the most time, alone time with a couple during couples portraits and making that my entire focus is going to allow me to increase my value thousands of dollars every time. And what you have to do as a solo shooter is actually create a product that excludes those things. So you have to figure out, is there a market of people who are willing to spend a lot of money, and there is, on these type of films that exclude these type of things. And once you just start putting out those type of films where it doesn't have family portraits, or maybe it doesn't even have speeches in the film because you just can't do that by yourself, or in all the films that you post, it doesn't have all these crazy ceremony shots, but you make sure all the other things are incredible. Then when couples start to come to you, you're going to condition them to believe this is what a wedding film should look like. So when you film it, they're not going to be missing anything, because they're like, oh, that's exactly the film you gave me is exactly the type of film I fell in love with. And I think that's the thing that we have to remember as videographers is 99% of couples aren't receiving their film or coming to you with preconceived notions of what they expect because they're not in the wedding videography industry. What your job is as a business owner, as a branding person, and as a videographer is to control the narrative. Like you have this amazing ability through Instagram and through what you post to actually make your potential couples believe and love the exact type of film that you create by constantly pushing that their way.
Yeah, and that's so good. I mean, and this comes back, the whole idea of show what you want to shoot, that thing. And I know I've said this time before, but when we did our mentorship, I was complaining about the amount of Catholic weddings I did, and you were just like, don't post them on your website. Just don't do it. And I went from doing like 12, 13, or 14 in 1 year to the next year doing 4 just because I quit posting them. So it's the exact same thing with running a solo business or whatever kind of business that you're running. It's just kind of show those things to have people know and understand and think this is what it is.
Absolutely. And
so
I think
good.
One other thing for a solo shooter, because I love shooting with my wife, with 2-person team, it's just my stress level can't take solo shooters, even if I got the system down. So power to you, that's amazing. But one thing I always suggest to solo shooters, I think the most stressful time of the day is the ceremony, because there's so many different angles, and I always recommend if you're going to be solo shooting the ceremony, you should have multiple cameras. Like if you're not going to spend your money on a second shooter, get multiple cameras. That'll really, really help. So you can have them all locked down. And then I think the other stressful part is where you have to get decor, family, or portraits. So really just choosing the one that you think is the most important. And if I was a solo shooter, I would say portraits is the most important. I wouldn't get family stuff, and I would get decor a different time of the day. Because I've started putting very little decor in our films. I'll put maybe like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And I realize, that's just not worth a lot of my time. I realize the couples that we're attracting care a lot more about the portraits and about the story over the whole day. And I kind of put a limit on myself too. I think another important thing as a solo shooter is if you are going to get something like decor, put a time limit to be like, hey, I can, set a little timer on your phone, because I know when I'm shooting, I can get carried away so easily trying to get the perfect shot, especially with decor where I'm there for way too long.
Awesome. I love it. What a wealth of knowledge, Nick. I'm just saying. All right. To those of you that have joined, we've got 32 right now. That's awesome. Great. That's like almost 3 dozen. If you're live inside of our Facebook group, we are here with David Reynosa from Forestry Films. We're answering questions about posing, about all the things, shooting, business, editing with him. I'm going to take another question from our Facebook chat that we did yesterday from James Blankenfeld. Basically, he's wanting to know tips for working with your wife. I think this goes well with the question that you just were answering. He says, I know that Harmony and David work together, and my wife Katie is starting to learn the ins and outs with the goal to get to the point where we are a husband and wife team. I'd love to know tips on how to make that seamless and then be able to sustain the business when that's your sole income. And that's kind of the gist of the question there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I feel like I get asked it often, so I've had time to really think about it. And I mean, Harmony and I have worked together ever since we got married. This has been a husband and wife team for that long. And I hear a lot of, sometimes I'll answer this question like, oh, okay, you really got to make sure you know your partner's strengths and your weaknesses so that the other person can take over what you're weak at, and you don't butt each other's heads. But I think a lot of that is surface level stuff. As I really think about it, if you're in business with your wife, your working relationship, whether that be, in the editing room or answering emails or shooting a wedding, will only be as good as your marriage, period. Like, you can try to cover that up with as many like tips and tricks, but if your marriage isn't healthy outside of the business, your business is going to fail. It's just like if you were in a partnership with someone and your actual friendship relationship was horrible, your business will fail eventually because you just can't move on from that. So what I would suggest, if you're going into business with your wife, forget about tips and tricks on how to work together as a coworker and figure out what marriage resources can I do to make my marriage incredible? What books can I read? What conferences can I go to? What counseling things can I go to really make my marriage strong? And that's going to impact, that's just life advice is going to make your family better, business. It's just, everything's going to be much, much better. And as a Christian, I'm reading a really good marriage book right now. It's called What Did You Expect by Paul Tripp. It's an incredible book if you're a Christian and want an incredible resource on marriage that will help your business completely. Get that book, read it together or read it separately. Go through a chapter a week and then talk about it at the end of the week. It will massively change your business, and it's getting the foundation right, guys. That's the most important.
Oh, that's such solid, such huge advice. I mean, I can't. Whenever Jen and I, went full time and we started like really working together, like we noticed when we weren't spending time together out, like, we were only talking about business stuff. We had to say, no, okay, date nights are important. Spending time together is important. Talking to each other, connecting with each other, relating to each other, on our personal level, on a couple level, and that kind of stuff really, really helped us together, but it just helped our business because that was the focus of us together. So that's solid advice. I love what some of the stuff you had to say, and I think this leads great into another question that Matthew Reed asked, and he says, how does your faith impact or drive your business?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So, I mean, it's everything. My faith. So, I think a lot of people view their faith as something that is separate, or not as separate, but it's like, oh, I like watching The Office, and I like drinking coffee, and I like working out. They're all kind of ancillary things. But my faith is really the worldview that I see every single decision through. So everything that I see goes through my lens of my relationship with Christ and who I believe God is, who is the creator of the universe, creator of me, the creator of marriage. And so my whole business, every decision that I make down to, and you may think, how does your faith influence like what shots you do and how you choose cameras and how you choose fonts or branding? Like, that doesn't really make sense. Well, I'll give you an example. So I firmly believe that marriage is created by God, and it's created to be the most joyous relationship on this planet. It's supposed to mirror the relationship that, God has with his son. It's supposed to be this example to the world of what true love, sacrificial love, looks like. And so when I think about it like that and I make wedding films, I'm like, okay, my job just as a husband and wife team is to cause other people to see what true love is. And then when I make films, I really want to make films that exude joy and happiness, but also, artistically beautiful. And so when I'm thinking about the structure of my stories, I always want them to end in happiness, in joy, because that is the gospel. It ends in happiness. It ends in joy. That's who we are in Christ, is we're joyous people. So that influences my filmmaking, and also it influences my gear choice, because I know that on a wedding day, it's more than just the artistic cinematic shots. I believe marriage is so deep and so meaningful that I don't want to bring gear to the wedding that distracts from how deep and meaningful what the couple is actually doing. Sure, I could bring a whole thing of gear and all this stuff and really make incredible shots, but I want the couple to really focus mainly on their marriage, because that's what the wedding's about, and we can kind of create a cool film in the process, and my faith influences that decision. And it really just comes back to, I feel like every business, every filmmaker and every artist in general, you have to figure out what is the why. Like, why do you create art? And I create art because I feel like oftentimes I'm not really good at expressing myself emotionally. Like, I have a hard time expressing my true emotions. And so filmmaking allows me to feel something and get it out to the world. And so I feel a certain thing about every wedding because my faith influences a certain view of marriage, which causes me to feel this certain thing. And I use filmmaking as the vehicle to get that feeling out of my heart and into a way to serve the couple and a way to really inspire other people to see this beauty. So that's probably like a long answer to a short question.
Look at the chills. Yeah. They're right there. I got the chill bumpies. Good stuff. No, I think it's huge. And I think that like as a filmmaker myself, I used to just be so vanilla and like not really infusing my personality or my faith. And, I would encourage the listeners, no matter what your faith is or your worldview is, to infuse that into what you're doing and infusing your own personality. You don't want to be blending in. You want to be, giving your heart into this film. If not, I wouldn't want to be in it without that. So
Agreed.
Great. I love it. Okay, I'm going to steal a question from our Instagram page. If you don't follow us at How to Film Weddings, check us out over there. We do a lot of fun little extra things in our stories and all that good stuff. So on Instagram, Tommy TRVN says, how do you approach posing with couples who aren't as lovey-dove physically?
Okay. I feel like every month I'm refining my answer to this question. So I think it's going to be a little bit like the marriage thing. And this is going to be a hard answer because it's not easy. So I think one of the ways to
that's why it's hard
to get over couples who aren't good posing is to stop shooting with couples who aren't good posing. And I know that's like, I'll answer it more in depth because I know a lot of people are just, you have couples that aren't good at it and there has to be a way to make them comfortable, and there is. But one of the things we've started to do is kind of like with the Catholic wedding thing, Nick, is we realize that the best weddings we have ever shot are with couples who enjoy taking photographs of themselves and really, really like posing, because our job is so much easier and we're able to create so much more artistic things. So what we've tried to do is when we think of our target bride, that is one of the things that they enjoy taking photographs and they love to pose for those photographs. And it's just, obviously you can't always have it because, it's really hard to find these people, but as you start posting more films where you can tell the couple's more comfortable posing, it's going to attract other couples who are more comfortable posing. But what do you do if you're kind of stuck in that in between, or you think a couple would be good in front of the camera, but they're not? One of the things that has really helped us is to bring music along. So what we have is a JBL portable speaker. It's a little clip-on speaker that can just go right on the side of your camera bag. And we have a playlist that we just load up that has really romantic songs, kind of intimate portrait songs, and we'll play it the entire time during the portrait session. And we try to keep our direction very minimal during that portrait time. We'll more so just say, hey, listen to the music, and then let that kind of lead to whatever you would naturally do. And it's so awesome because the photographer loves it. They're like, oh my gosh, like, thank you. Because how many of you guys have done portrait sessions where it's just so awkward because the couple's awkward and all you're hearing is like camera clicks and you're just like breathing and you're just like, I just feel so gross right now. I feel like I'm like, the couple's just this like object that we are like moving around like pieces of meat. And it's the weirdest thing when you add in music, you tend to talk less because you're not trying to fill time with just, I know for me, if there's no music, I get really awkward and I just start filling time with whatever comes to my mind, which is usually the worst thing. I'll like listen to myself back while I'm editing. I'm like, why am I talking about waffles right now? Like, what is going on? Like, I'm so awkward.
Yeah.
And by bringing music along, it's kind of like having that friend who's just great at conversation, who you're just like, okay, cool. Like, you talk, and that's what music does. And it just makes portraits a lot less awkward.
That's good.
When follow up with that, so then obviously if you're playing music, then you're not including any natural audio from that kind of stuff. So
Right.
have you run into any problems with doing that, or does the benefit outweigh the negative?
Right now, in terms of our style, because I always like answering that question that way, in terms of our style right now, we don't ever need the audio. And if we do, I'll try to find like, if I really want to have the couple laughing in a certain shot, then I'll find a laugh from another part of the day and I'll use that. Or I've started really using sound effects pretty heavily. So if I want to have this like really amazing intro where say I'm pushing in and it's couples backlit and they're in the redwood forest, then I'll bring all my sound in later. I'll bring in birds chirping and crickets and cicadas and wind and even like little footsteps and things like that. And I try to choose music that already also has like an atmospheric sound to it where it feels like, oh, maybe that's wind, maybe it's a piano, I'm not really sure, maybe it's a synth. And so all that together, I feel like I'm never missing audio that I could have captured. And the benefit far outweighs the con, I think, for me. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I figured it'd be something like, and I'm not, and as I ask that question, it's not like I'm very rarely using the natural audio from my couple session, but I just thought of that.
Yeah,
So
that's a good question.
another question we got from our Instagram is from It's Grace Keeley. And they ask, all the advice when starting out is overwhelming. So if you could start over, what would be a thing or two you would do? You don't have to give all of them, just maybe one or two tips.
No, I want him to give all of them.
All the tips.
Okay, I'm going to give
all of them.
If this is the one thing I wish I did, I'll just try to boil it all down. I'm going to give one tip because I think if you just focus on this, you'll be good. So if I were to do it all over again, I would not go into weddings full time right away. I would get a part-time job to pay the bills, and I would only shoot the weddings that I'm crazy excited about and use that formula to build my brand. I would be way further now if I had done that, because what happened is I relied on weddings for my main income, so I was forced to take weddings I wasn't excited about, and that slowed the growth of the brand down because of it. So if you're just starting out and you have the luxury of being single, possibly living with your parents or living with roommates, not having a lot of responsibilities, go get a job at Starbucks or go get something where it'll pay the bills. So that way, every single artistic outlet that you have is doing stuff you're really passionate about, and your brand will grow like crazy.
So tell me, what CRM do you use? If you're not sure or you don't know what a CRM is, I'm about to save you a lot of time and therefore money. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. Basically, a CRM is an online service that helps you better serve your clients. HoneyBook is both mine and John's CRM of choice. We absolutely love it. HoneyBook allows us to do all of our correspondence, contracts, and payments all in one place. One of the features that I love is the automated workflow. We all have emails that we send out to all of our clients, right? At 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, the week of. All of us do it. Automated workflows make it so that those emails can go out automatically. Since I don't have to take time to, 1, remember to send them out, and 2, to write them, I save time and make more money by working more efficiently. Are you interested in saving time on the business side of things? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook for a free 1-week trial. Also, because the Honeybooks really like me and John, we can give you $200 off of your first year, and that also comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook to start saving lots of time in your business. Oh yeah, legally I have to tell you that John and I are affiliates of HoneyBook.
I think that's really, really good advice. Like, I haven't heard anybody say that. And as you're saying it, I'm like, that is what I wish I would have done. Like, I really do, because I think what happens is that you get in this rat race of like, okay, well, I need to pay the bills, so I'm going to take this wedding, but I won't show it. And then it's like, but then you can't put the effort into the ones you really want to do. You're behind, you get this backlog, you get into this like debt to yourself almost, where it's like, I've got 14 weddings to edit, but I really want to edit this one I did this weekend that I've been waiting for, but I can't for 4 months or what. And so like then you're not showing what you really want to be, shooting for 4 more months, and it's slowing you down. So having something that's covering the bills where it's like, hey, instead of shooting, 18 weddings this year, I'm going to shoot 6. that would have totally, like, in the long run, saved me years of time. So I'm going to steal that. I'm stealing that from you. Quoted straight from me, Nick. John
Perfect.
Bunn's quote.
Hey, steal it. I probably stole it from someone I can't remember. So
No, that's really good. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Nick, do you have a question you want to drop? I've got a couple here that I like, but
Do you have one?
yeah.
Okay, go for it.
I was going to ask the one, Jorge Camaro Jr.
That was the one I was gonna ask.
I
Yeah.
love him.
It really was.
He said, what do you think should be my top 3 investments besides a workshop or a course? Just like, what things should I be thinking about investing
Besides.
in? And I would assume that this isn't, I mean, he's not a new shooter. So, I mean, just the 3 types of things that he should be investing in. Or any one. I mean, 3 is, like, 3
It's
is
not
an
education.
awkward.
That's not education. I'm like, well, education.
It's not education.
Well, maybe a beard. That seems to be working pretty well for Matt Johnson. I'm not sure. That could be could be a good thing to invest in.
Yep.
Let's see.
Beards are
I'm
good.
I'm just trying to buy some time to really think about what, like, if I only had a couple $1,000s and I had to invest in 3 things, I would say, a good website for sure would be on the top of my list, like with a really, really good web designer and branding agency. I'd probably put all my money into a branding agency and web designer. I think that would be the number one thing I would invest in, because your couples are so visual, and a brand, I think, plays such a powerful role in that. So I would say that would be my number one thing. And then 2 and 3, it's like I would put education in there for sure. And I think it wouldn't be really money. It would be more so I would invest time into really figuring out what my style is. So if I didn't have a lot of money, I'd probably try to invest almost all of my free time in just taking out couples as much as I could to really figure out, okay, this is the type of weddings I like to shoot, or the type of style, and really honing that. I think that, along with branding, is some of the best things that you can invest in. One, your time, and one in the branding.
So I want to throw it out there to the listeners. David did not say a drone. He did not say the newest 6K camera, which I want, but like,
which I kind of want to.
About your, yeah,
Harmony won't let me.
Yeah, he talked about your branding. He talked about your finding your style. Those are things that, like, literally have, it has nothing to do with what frame rate you're shooting. It's more so about building the brand. And when you think about Forestry Films, it's like, oh my goodness, you know exactly what your branding is. And you've done such a good job that so many people have tried to, like, emulate it, And so it's like, I've just been really like into this whole, like, being completely authentic to you and figuring out who you are. And it just takes time to do that. And it's okay to see David's films and be like, okay, I want to shoot like that. I like that. But, like, after a while, it'll morph more into you. And so, like, you have to be exploring that and having that freedom to explore and not feel this pressure with all these backlogged edits and all these things. And, like, if you're thinking about that and thinking about your brand, like, you're going to attract ideal clients for you. And
Absolutely.
I can't explain to you how much better my life is today than it was 6 years ago when I was shooting 60 weddings for, couples that were great, but, like, they were paying the bills. I was in backlog mode. I had all this, extra. And now, shooting weddings and going and traveling and doing the things and telling the stories that I want to tell, like, there's this freedom that comes with it. And I really, I want the listeners to hear that as, like, branding is really important. Figuring out your style is really important. If you're not thinking about those things and you're just kind of taking whatever job pays the bills and doing, whatever the photographer's doing at the wedding, like, if you're not pushing for that, you're going to be frustrated and burn out in this career.
Yeah, I love what you said too, is, like, testing out a lot of different things. So same thing with the time, is really figuring out, like, figuring out which weddings you hate to shoot, like being honest with yourself. Because I feel like so many videographers think they have to do it all. They're like, I have to be good at everything. And if I'm not good at everything, then no one will hire me. And I think the opposite is true. It's much easier and you can charge way more if you're just good at one thing. And so really ask yourself, what do I hate shooting? And it's okay. Like, it is okay to hate shooting Catholic weddings. It is okay even to hate shooting luxury weddings. Like, I know a lot of people really want to get into the luxury space, which is awesome. There's a ton of money there, and there's people that are insanely good at it. But if you don't like shooting those, just because everyone is moving in that direction, don't feel like you also have to move in that direction. Most of the time, by identifying what you hate will really put you into a niche that will let your personality shine through, and you could become, a really rock star in this little niche that no one's focusing on because you're being authentic about what you actually do not like. And I think that's another thing I wish I did more, is really being not afraid to be firm with what I didn't like and be very firm with what I did like and just push into that.
Yeah, that's really good. So one of the things that keeps coming up here is branding. Like I'm looking at like 4 different questions now on our list here that people are just asking specific stuff about branding. And a lot of people, right, get this confused with their logo. Like they think their logo is their branding, and obviously their branding is so much more. So if someone is, new to this or totally lost or has no clue about it, what are maybe, 1, 2, or 3 like small practical things that you would suggest to someone to really help start them building their brand?
I think the best thing, because it's very specific to the type of person that's asking the question. Like, I find that 90% of videographers are not suited to do their own branding. Because we're videographers. It would kind of just be like, hey, I want you to officiate my wedding. I'm like, well, I'm not an officiant. Or I want you to do I want you to DJ my wedding. Well, that's not what I do. So if you're in that pool of 90% of videographers where you don't have and be honest with yourself, like be honest, say, you know what? I don't really have a good innate sense of branding and design and style. I can kind of see what I like, but I don't know how to bring my brand to that level. What I would start to do, and this is where the hard work comes in. I've tried before to recommend like, oh, you should go to this branding agency or that branding agency, but every branding agency has a target market that they're really, really good at selling to. Like they can really do fine art branding incredibly well. But if you come to them with a moody, dark style, it's not going to be what you want it to be. So what I would suggest is, if you're starting out and really want to get branding right, get on your computer, block off, like this is something that's not just like, hey, I'm going to buy a new camera, it's going to come here and it's going to be great. Like branding is an integral, the foundation of your business. Block off a day to get behind the computer, go on Pinterest and do the hard work of just looking for a company that matches the style of where you want to go, and compiling a list of, these are 5 companies that I'm going to reach out to, and reach out to them and figure out what are the steps, what are the packages. Maybe it's too expensive when you're just starting out, so just start with a logo from them, and then start with, maybe they have a full custom rebrand that's $10,000. You're like, I can't do that. Then pitch them maybe, hey, I know I can't do the $10,000 rebrand, but I can do the $200 logo. And do you have something in between where you can redesign a Squarespace site for me that's not completely custom, but I know you understand branding, so you can take the Squarespace tools and give me something for $1,500 that is really good. It's not as good as $10,000. Then you do that for a couple years, and then you move up to maybe the $5,000 package and sticking with that branding agency. But it's going to take a lot of hard work. And I think that is also why so many filmmakers and photographers don't have really, really good branding, is they haven't really taken the time, because all their focus is on their product. Mm-hmm. Block off the time, do the work. That's how I would approach branding.
Really good.
That's really good. I think it's really funny too, as well, how, we preach so much, oh, our couples just need to spend money where it matters, and, you get what you pay for and all that kind of stuff. But yet when it comes to our websites and our logos, we're just like, oh, $500 is too expensive. I have no design experience, but I'll just make it myself. It's like the
Couples
exact
notice.
same thing. And whenever, right. So whenever you want to try to reach a target market, then you need to have all of your stuff be in line with who you're trying to reach, and have it not look like, you just made it in your basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question from our Facebook group that kind of goes along with just what we were just talking about, and Nick even said something about like a $500 budget for branding, but there's a question in here that was like, hey, that kind of like goes right along with this. So, inside of our Facebook group, if you're listening on the podcast, shameless plug again for our Facebook group. If you haven't heard about it by now, I mean, come on. Okay, so Amanda McGuire, she says, how do you brand yourself as a wedding videographer in a small town market when everyone is a photographer and no one really knows what wedding films are, and they are only willing to spend $500 asking for a friend?
Amanda, yeah, that's a good question. I think it's another short answer, but hard to get to, is be so good people can't ignore you. And obviously there's a lot that goes into that, but that is really how you succeed in a small market. Take a look at what other videographers are doing in that market and figure out, what do I need to do to make my work infinitely times better? And you will start to succeed in the small market, because people always pay a premium for things that are in scarcity. So if you have a style or you have a certain quality that no one else in your market has, you can charge whatever you want, and people will pay for it if they want it. So you have to figure out, is there a place of my market that is not being served in a very high quality way? Serve that market, be the only one to serve it, and you can charge whatever you want. And I think the other important thing is, if there's already an established photographer market, then structuring your style to be photographer friendly. Figure out how you can achieve excellence while also making photographers love you. Because if there's already a high established market where they're getting the type of weddings you want to get, by becoming friends with those people and shooting really well alongside them, you will kind of piggyback on their success. I think as I look back, that's one thing I wish I would have done better. Is I feel like in the first few years I was starting out, I was so consumed with just being the best that I would do stupid things in order to do that. And we didn't get as many referrals from photographers that I really wish we could work with, because I was so just like, it has to be this way, it has to be so excellent, where I've realized our brides don't really care about X, Y, and Z things, so I can be a little more relaxed. Like, yeah, the shot isn't that inspiring here. Like, it doesn't, you know what, yeah, it actually just looks average, but that's okay, because I know the relationship with the photographer is far more important. So I think those two things, in terms of being the best in your market and also developing a style and figuring out how can my style work well with photographers, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's really good. And I do think that, like what you said about like being so good that people have to notice you, like if people can see a product that you've produced and like educating the market, all that. I mean, if you're trying to like tell somebody about a wedding film you made, as opposed to like them seeing a wedding film and being like, holy crap, I want that.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's a difference. There's a difference to be like, oh, I'm going to incorporate like home footage, from when you were kids. I'm going to put that, like, we just did a film where we incorporated a lot of the footage of the couple. And like, since then our phone has been ringing off the hook. Not really. We don't have a phone on a hook, but we've been getting lots of inquiries about like, oh my goodness, I saw this film. I love the style. And it was very true to like what I wanted to produce. Thanks a little long distance for the inspiration. But like, by producing that, people, when I'm talking to them, they're like, oh my goodness, I saw that film that you did. I want that. Like, I want that. And so you just have to, like, even if they've paid you $500 maybe for your, that wedding film, you go in and you treat it like it's a $10,000 project or a $5,000 project and produce something that is so mind-blowingly good that once it's done, like, you can show that to people and say, yeah, that's my $5,000 package. They don't have to know that you only charged $500 for that, but it's one of those deals where you definitely can, show what you want to shoot. You can edit something that you want to charge. So, like, don't be limited by, oh, they only paid me this much, or, like, maybe make something that blows them away. And then now you have something to start moving that boulder up the mountain.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's really good. Kind of also on the photography front, Cody Board asked, my girlfriend is a wedding photographer. I'm a wedding videographer. We're building a team and combining their photo video packages. Any tips for selling combined packages to couples? Is a discount for booking together a good idea? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, so we do photo and film, and I think we just keep it really simple. So with the photo and film package, we give them like a $500 to $1,000 discount if they book both together. Because for me, it really depends on your business, obviously. Like, is photography something that you want to make a ton of profit on? Or is it more so to enhance the video side of your business because you love working with the same photographer over and over again, and you have now photos for social media, and it allows you to create, better films because it's the same team. And so you really got to figure out what is the goal of photography for you, and that'll impact how you structure your packages. But for us, we do like a $500 discount. And what I really try to sell couples on in terms of when they get us both together is like, hey, you get the same style. But even more so than that, we do a lot of intimate weddings and elopements is kind of where we're headed and where we really want to specialize. And so I really sell the comfort level of being able, like, hey, a lot of the couples we work with, they're planning this wedding. It's a destination wedding for them. They don't want to have to try to find a local photographer and all this, and it's a lot of work, and we can just, hey, everything's in one place, and we work really well together. So you're going to have photos that are the same exact style as your video. So when you're actually showing them off to people, there's not going to be a disconnect. And that makes the couple look good because they're like, oh, look at my awesome spread. And it's kind of like when someone has all Apple products, like when you have an iPhone, you want the MacBook and you want the Apple Watch because you want everything to be in the ecosystem. People love that. It's just like a human psychology where you want to be branded with all the same thing. And so it really helps when you're able to give that to couples and they understand it and they really want it.
Yeah. We had a lot of questions about the photography, video, and I think just when we have the photography side as well, and just that comfort level, one contract, one team, we know how to work together. All those things are positives. I mean, no matter if you're doing it or not, you can always spin the situation you're in into a positive for your company. But I'm really digging having Nina at our weddings, and like, I did a wedding with a photographer a few weeks back, and it was just pure hell. Like, she would not let me do anything. It was terrible. It was the worst experience I've ever had. Planning on recording an episode all about it because it was so bad. And I'm a very personable person, and it was just a really bad experience. And so, like, being able to like
John's
I can get along with pretty much anybody.
I'm awesome, so it couldn't have been me because I'm incredible.
I mean, I've been told I'm awesome by 99% of people for the last 15 years. Okay, so I mean, I don't think I'm a terrible person to be around, but like, the importance of having, that kind of thing. I mean, it really does make a big difference. Like, I mean, I could not do my job, and most photographers aren't jerk bags. So that's good. But like, being able to like really, control the day with that. I mean, that's how we sell it, is like, I mean, we're in control of the timeline. We know how much time everything is going to need. Our team knows where everybody's going to be during the ceremony and the first dances. And so like, it's just this big, like, awesome team that is way less hassle. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there as well. Okay. Yeah. We've got like 10 minutes left, before we're done. I've heard a little birdie told me, I've always wanted to say that. A little birdie told me that you have a course.
Real quick, John, because I have I had some questions. Could it be okay if I like lightning round just like in 2 minutes
No.
through like one or two questions?
Can't do it.
Please.
I forgot you ask questions too.
Yeah, I just want to make sure
Hey,
that
you take over. You ask the questions.
that I
go
get
for
to
it.
people who.
For everybody waiting to know about this course, you're gonna have to wait just another minute.
I'll try. Okay, let's see. I'll just go really
Welcome
quick.
to the How to Film Weddings podcast, hosted by David Reynosa.
Is that okay? Because I
David
just got some
Reynosa.
questions.
Yeah, it's
that,
okay.
Like, okay, perfect. I don't want to.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We're
you
joking.
gonna ask
I don't want you guys to
Do you wanna
sign off
text
and be
them
like,
to us?
man, that David, he's just like so controlling. Jeez, oh man. Okay,
That's what people are
Wait,
gathering.
are you asking these questions to yourself?
I guess I am.
Love it.
Is that
Go
okay?
for it.
I'm gonna go take a
for
nap,
it.
guys.
Okay.
See ya.
We're gonna take a break.
Well, you guys can answer too. I just want to make sure I get to some of them because they asked on our Instagram. So we got let's see. I'm probably gonna butcher these names, but Isabella said, "How do you film if it rains? Do you have waterproof cameras?" So I don't know how you guys handle it, but we literally just
I do not.
We just pray that it doesn't rain. Like literally lots of prayer. And I think the GH5, which we use, is semi-weatherproof. So we've had a couple times where it's lightly drizzled and we kind of like pull a Neo with bullets like in the Matrix and try to just like dodge the rain as best as possible. So that's my answer.
Yep.
And
I'm
then
so glad he's taking the time to answer these questions. That was really helpful.
I don't know, someone asked. And then we got Cal. Besides a 50 millimeter, which would be a second lens choice to film a wedding if you could only have one lens? I'd probably go with like a wider lens, like a 35. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would say the 16 to 35.
That's a good
Even though
lens.
it's not a prime, if I was only adding one more lens, especially
If they
since I
have a
shoot on a
50?
crop factor.
Yeah, if they
Yeah,
have a 50
I would say a 16
and they
to
had
35.
one more lens choice.
I would either.
I would go the
think
other
would
way. I would go the other way and do a 70 to 200, something
Yeah.
like really long, so that you could. Especially, I'm just thinking during ceremony
Yeah,
time, so you're
actually,
not
now that
like
I think about
a
it.
jerk and standing real close.
Because
I'd
with a
still go with 16 to
50,
35.
because with a 50 you can always back up and it won't be the most insane wide shot, but it's a wide shot. Yeah, I'd probably have to side with Nick, John, on the 70 to 200.
This is why I'm
That's
going to say
right.
it. Because of the weddings the weddings I do, I want to show big, wide gimbal shots, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like the big, luxurious vibe. That's my style. So the 50, I can get a little closer. Like during the ceremony, I'm okay with it being at a 50 and punching in a little bit if I had to.
Yeah.
I would do a 70 to 200 if I didn't pick the 16 to 35.
Or you know what?
But-
What I might do is I might get like an 18 to 105, like f4 lens, and just
like a kit lens.
yeah, just a kit lens and just rock it hard. I would just embrace it. I don't know. That's probably my.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
I still say 70 to 200. But what do I know?
Let's see. Wow, there's a lot. I'll just ask one or two quick more. How do you constantly pull focus without using monitors? Do you guys use monitors on your C100s?
I do not.
I do.
Okay.
I have the small HD and I love it. It was really hard to pull focus before that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
the small HD.
I have
is
the
pretty
autofocus. The autofocus continuous on the C100 Mark II as well, and that's pretty good. I mean,
That's really
it's
nice.
like, but a lot of times,
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
using it right now.
Yeah.
incredible. Oh. Yeah, the GH5 is literally like.
Oh my goodness,
shooting-
I'm not using it right now. No. Blake, I'm sorry. Oh
Oh no, you've been
no!
out
I've
of
been
focus
blurring
this
the
whole
whole
time.
episode.
Out of focus the whole time.
I know the GH5
That's hilarious.
is like shooting with a potato when it comes to autofocus. It's just so bad. It's atrocious, pretty much. So we don't use it. I love the small HD. It's really nice. Like the screen is just amazing, and my eyesight's not the best. So when I look at it, I feel like I'm like young again. It's pretty nice, but like I just don't like the bulk, so I still use the GH5. And what I do in terms of pulling focus is I just try to like set a good distance between me and the couple. So I've been doing it for so long that I know what about 4 or 5 feet of distance is between me and the couple, and I can kind of keep that most of the time. And since our style is a little bit more, it allows for more candidness and for more out of focus things and more shaky camera, there are a lot of times where I'll put in a semi out of focus shot, or if the shot's just out of focus for a part of it, it goes with our style. And so I'm not as nitpicky about it having to be in focus 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's good.
Sure.
It's good.
I can't believe that I didn't have my camera on autofocus. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Blake's going to kill me. It's going to be blurry.
David, do you have another one? Do you have another question? Or do you answer them all?
Well, I have more, but I don't know how long we have because, I don't want to I want to keep this, at a good length and not have to go into like Lord of the Rings trilogy with our podcast.
I say grab one more. While he's talking about that, I just want to remind people listening about the howtofilmweddings.com/shop. Lots of digital templates, lots of great things in there. People be loving those. This is my shameless plug for our shop. While David finds a question, his mouth is moving. He's reading his question.
Okay.
But definitely check out the shop.
We got Jake Weisler because who doesn't love a little Jake in their lives, and he asked a question.
Jakey boy, we're best friends.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's best friends with everyone. So I don't. Okay, here we go. So what is your?
Wait, what?
My brain just stopped working, so I just figured I would not answer my question. So he said, what is your favorite in all caps, part to shoot during the wedding day? Portraits, they're my favorite. Couples portraits, I just think they're so much fun. They're the part I always look forward to. Portraits, and then I know he asked one, but I have two, portraits and dancing. I'm like, how awesome is our job, guys, that every single time we work, it ends in a dance party? Like, come on.
That's true.
Like, how cool is that? Like, no matter how bad the wedding is, like some of the worst weddings we've ever shot, I'm like, there is that drunk grandpa on the dance floor and he's making my life amazing. Like, this is just awesome. So yeah, I think portraits and dancing, both for different reasons, but the two favorite parts.
I love it.
I mean,
love it.
We're probably going to say the same thing, right? I mean, the portraits are like the best part.
Yeah.
So usually.
Okay, my favorite part, I don't know if it's because I have girls or what, but my favorite part is when dad sees his daughter for the first time.
That's a good part.
I get emotional just talking about it. I don't know what's wrong with me, but my voice is quivering a little bit because I just can see my little girls as grown-ups just in the, that moment for me is really important. I'm going to be a basket case when they get married, of course. And so from the moment they've been born, I'm just like, man, I'm looking forward to that and not looking forward to it at the same time. So besides the portrait session, I just love seeing the relationship between the bride and the dad.
When we shot weddings for so long without kids, and then now we have a daughter, I feel like I discovered a new range of emotions. I'm like, I didn't know that part of my heart was actually there.
Yep.
It's the weirdest, in a not, it's the weirdest thing. And then when the dad gives the speech to the daughter, it's just like, why am I emotional right now? Not in a cheesy way. I'm just like, okay, yeah, all the shots are awesome, but I feel like I'm actually at the wedding in those moments and not worried about all the shooting and everything. They're pretty crazy moments.
Yeah.
Since our daughter's been born, I cannot tell you how many times I have cried during the father-daughter dance. So watching it.
The Butterfly Kisses song used to make me so upset. I'd just be like, this is lame. Oh.
And
the first time
it came
on
after
having a daughter, I was crying like a little baby. I'm not kidding. Couldn't see my screen. Just crying. It was hard. Okay.
We're getting old, guys. We're getting old. We're no longer cool. We're crying over butterfly kisses. We're phasing out.
We've lost all respect.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, David this week has relaunched his amazing Craft 5K course, and we're going to give him a second to talk about that. But we have a very important question from one Matt Johnson. And he wants to know, is the Craft 5K course showing me how to make $5,000 wedding films or showing me how to make 5,000 wedding films?
Well, predominantly it's to show you how to make $5,000 wedding films, but it'll give you the confidence to shoot 5,000 weddings at $5,000, which, I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of money.
Hey Siri, what's 5,000 times 5,000?
That's,
I'll be right back.
That's millions. So yeah,
That's not nice.
I
Okay,
realized
sorry,
in
go
the
ahead.
actual
No, sorry.
logo, the 5K, I was like, do I put a dollar sign before it in the logo? But that'll be confusing, and so it's just Craft 5K. It's $5,000 wedding films, but I understand the confusion. Good question, Matt.
So why don't you just spend a couple of minutes and kind of talk about your course just a little bit.
All right, I'll try to keep it short because I'm pretty excited about it. I'll try to keep it like 5 minutes or 2 minutes. You just cut me off. You cut me off. So
okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Really the whole idea with the course, I won't go crazy in detail because you can click on the link that How to Film Weddings has. You can click on that link and find out all the intricate details. I'm just going to go over the why we really made this course and really give the heart behind it. And also, before I get into that, John and Nick doing an awesome job. They have an incredible discount on the Craft 5K course. And so it's 10% and it goes till Sunday at around 10:30 p.m. So if you're interested in the course, use their code. You'll get 10% off until Sunday. So a little bit about the course. Oh, if you use the promo code HTFW. Did I get that right, guys?
And I will say,
Yeah.
if you're listening to the podcast, you're too late to purchase. You got to buy it now.
Yes.
So if you're listening to it, sorry, sign up to get on the list if he launches it again. Okay, back to you.
Perfect. So, I mean, we've been doing weddings a really long time, like 10 plus years now. And the first 5 years, and when I was born, so the first 5 years of weddings were extremely, extremely stressful. I feel like I had no consistency in my work. I would arrive to one wedding, I would knock it out of the park, and the next wedding would be the same exact vibe and style, but for some reason, something didn't click. I felt really stressful during portraits. I didn't know how to talk to the photographer. I'd walk into a hotel room that just the lighting was slightly different than the last hotel room, and just things didn't work. And I was like, there has to be some sort of system, because I saw in so many other businesses outside of weddings, when you really figured out a system, things just got so much easier and so much better. So that was the main heart behind making Craft 5K. And this course is solely focused on shooting, editing, and storytelling, but it's so much more than just those individual components. It really comes together in a system. So when we started to really figure out, oh my gosh, there's actually a repeatable way to do portraits in a way that makes a couple feel comfortable and not awkward, and how to do certain things in the interviews that really pulls out amazing heartfelt responses from our brides, or doing certain things in editing that every single wedding we can know without a shadow of a doubt that when we post it on YouTube, it's going to get the reaction from random strangers that's going to make them, like we talked about in the beginning of this podcast. How do you make it to where every couple, when they watch the film, they're like, oh my gosh, like that's their response? And we've really built out a system that allows you to, when you implement it correctly, it elicits that response. So it's not just a course on like, here's how to shoot weddings, or here's how to do groom prep, or here's how to do portraits. It's really all of those things working together in a way that when you can go to every wedding and confidently be like, man, I'm gonna knock this out of the park. It stops you from planning everything in your head. And it's what we've been using for the last, 4 or 5 years, ever since we've really gotten it down pat, and it allows us to take it to every single wedding. And regardless if it's an Indian wedding or an elopement or an epic wedding in Iceland, it's a type of system that allows you to put your style on top of it so that it can really bend and move to the certain couple that you're trying to attract. And one cool thing that's not in the course that not in the landing page that you can find out all about the course is I actually just put in 10 extra hours of content that I actually don't talk about on the website. And I'm always doing this. I'm always adding in more content. And I actually took from start to finish me editing an entire wedding film, and I put that in there. And I'm not just like, it's not just a screen recording where I'm just like, hey, you're watching my mouse move the whole time. I'm literally teaching through the entire edit, my entire thought process. And you can see where I run into problems where I'm like, how do I solve this? And I talk through all the things of how I solve it, how I get to the end. And you can watch the entire process editing wise. And that's also in the course. So it's just jam full of value and content. And really what we found is, if we did an in-person version of this course, we'd probably have to do like 3 or 4 different workshops just with all the content that we've placed in this course. And it's really what I wish I had starting out, to just avoid all the mistakes in terms of crafting really high value films. And also, even if you're more advanced and you feel like, man, I have shooting down pat, like I'm an excellent shooter, this course is a great thing to still purchase because you can train your second shooters and your team. We've put in all the hard work for you to where you could be like, hey, this is how I want you to shoot portraits. And you can just show them this. And we've given them, you know, like we've done all the hard work. So there's something there for everyone, and just crazy pumped about it. That's just a little plug. Go to the website. There's a trailer of the course. You can see the type of films you're going to learn to create and all the other details. And I'll also be on chat, like on the website. So if you have any other questions, you can hit me up and I'll be on there like all day.
I was going to say, I think 2 years ago, I purchased it and I went through it. It's great content. It was easy to digest. I listened to it as I was editing a lot, and just like I grabbed so many deep nuggets from it that like I literally changed a lot about my preps. But, you know, just like, I mean, we're in this world where we're like shooting all the time. We have our style, but like hearing just a full process of what you do is like, oh, he does it that way. I'm not going to take that part. He does this thing this way. Oh, I really love that. I want to implement that into my workflow or the way I do it. I remember just some of the prep stuff especially was like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Like just little things that have changed the vibe of my films. And so like it isn't just for a newbie. It's definitely, you know, I was 10 years into business whenever I bought it, and I mean, it was well worth it. So awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't want to like overly talk. I know you guys are on your time crunch. How are we doing on time?
Oh, we've been talking for a little over an hour. So, anyways, David, we want to say something.
Let me just add one last thing. Use the How to Film Weddings link, the discount code, and we only keep this course open. It'll only be open till Tuesday. So this upcoming Tuesday is the final day to enroll. So if you want to get in, that's the final day, and then we close the course after that. And we're probably not going to open it up until another 6 months to a year. We're not really sure. And we do that because we want to give all the current students who've come in from this launch all our detail, all our time, because we do like one-on-one mentorships and we do group mentorships, and we're in the Facebook group. So we're really, really there, and we want to make sure that we give you guys our full attention. So check out the course, and just super pumped to have you enroll, and can't wait to see you inside. That'd be awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. It is definitely a game changer type of course. So David, thank you so much for hopping on here and doing this little live chat with us today. If there's anyone out there that isn't following you or just wants to learn more about you or whatever, like where's the best place for them to check you out?
Yeah, best place would be Instagram, just Forestry Films, or YouTube, Forestry Films. That's where YouTube, we post a ton of educational stuff, and then Instagram is a lot of our work and also educational stuff. They kind of both go together.
Okay, great. Again, don't forget about David's Craft 5K course. He's put a lot of time and a lot of energy into that. Check the link that's in our little description thing here. Use the promo code HTFW for 10% off. If you're listening to this later on the podcast or on our YouTube channel, sorry, you don't get this course right now. You have to sign up for his newsletter, and you'll get it, when he launches it again in 6 months or a year, whenever that is. If you like this video, share it with someone that likes it. Subscribe to our channel. There's so many things to go over here. Leave us a review on podcast. That's how people can find us. John, am I missing anything?
No, you're doing great.
Join our Facebook group.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, join our Facebook group. We have one of those. All of that kind of stuff. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we will see ya.
See ya.